Welcome into the Action Network podcast. We are back for week 3, best bets from the one and only Brandon Anderson. If this is your first week tuning in, welcome. The structure of these best bets episodes are very simple. Each week, Brandon will bring his best bets for the upcoming slate. You can find Brandon in the free award-winning Action Network app where he'll track his picks from this podcast, any futures, award bets, etc. You can find all of his articles there as well, actionnetwork.com. We encourage you to get the app. A lot easier to track your picks and read content. Brendan Glasheen in the host chair. All right, Brandon, this is the week. There's a theme to the week. Last week's theme, we're going to throw that away and move on to this week's theme, which is what?
It is kitchen sink week, Brendan, and this is one of my favorite weeks to bet in the NFL. So kitchen sink is about the teams that are 0-2. We got 9 teams that are 0-2. I have an article up at Action Network looking at the futures. If you're 0-2, you're only about 11% to make the playoffs. So that's effectively 1-9. We probably get one of those 9 teams to get in. You're about DOA if you go to 0-3. So that is a kitchen sink week. You got to do everything you can to get this win. By the way, I rank those teams most likely to make the playoffs. I like Titans 15-1 to win the division and maybe be the team that comes back from 0-2. So here's the thing. You play them in the future, but you especially play them week 3. This is the kitchen sink spot where they've got to pull out all the stops. Over the last, since 2010, teams that are 0-2 straight up against a team that has won at least one game, so just not another 0-2 team, 53, 32, and 2 against the spread. 62%. It's even a little bit higher, close to 2 out of 3 over the last decade. And then within that, I've got a lot of other kind of sub-trends of like, okay, well, what makes the trend even stronger? Turns out it's better if the 0-2 team was favored last game, or if the team they're facing was an underdog last game. It's better with low totals. It's better if you're facing a 1-1 team, not a 2-0 team. So I've got a bunch of those things. I ranked them. I ranked the team of who fits the trend best. So here are the 9 teams in the order that I ranked them on who best fits the kitchen sink trend, and then we'll get to some of the picks I'm doing. So the best fit to me is the Rams, 0-2, then Ravens, Giants, Colts, Panthers, Titans, Bengals, Jaguars, and Broncos. Those are 9. They are all, none of them are facing each other. So those are the kitchen sink teams. And for the first half of the pod today, I've got some kitchen sink bets that I will be making.
Okay, very good, very good. So with that in mind, and knowing how you feel about those 0-2s, and then, of course, you got to evaluate the line. And one team you mentioned, the Rams, their spot's fascinating because of the injuries on both sides. And I think some folks are thinking, do I even want to go near that game? But you've got an angle that you want to loop in. So let's go pick one. Best bets under the kitchen sink. What do we got?
Yeah, I'm going to play the Ravens. I'll take the money line. It's at -108 against the Cowboys in Dallas. This is my favorite kitchen sink game on the slate. I had to actually keep reminding myself this week, this is a kitchen week game because it doesn't seem like the Ravens should be 0-2. It's like the first time in a decade for them. And I had this as circled even before the season. This is a classic late afternoon Cowboys letdown spot against a top team. Like, how many times have we seen this game now in the last year alone? Here's some Cowboys scores for you. Niners 42-10, Bills 31-10, Packers 48-16 in the playoffs for a couple garbage time touchdowns. Saints 44-19 last week. We said blowout. Whoops, wrong side of that one. Cowboys did get blown out. They keep doing that. Dallas has not run the football that well. So this is going to be on really Dak against a pretty good defense, a sophisticated defense with really only one weapon. CeeDee Lamb's banged up. We expect him to play, but he and Trayvon Diggs are both they're not practicing much. Don't forget, Deron Bland is already out. So that's both the top 2 corners for Dallas. This is a top-heavy team. And that just, the stars and scrubs approach is not looking so hot right now. On the other side, Lamar Jackson, I think that's a real test for this Mike Zimmer defense that, quite frankly, failed the test the most fail way you could against the Saints last week. Dallas is second to last in run defense DVOA. So I think Lamar should be able to run. I think Derrick Henry should be able to run. And then kitchen sink. Some of the spots here, 65% of the bets right now are on the Ravens. You like a public team here with the kitchen sink. 70% against the spread, 73% ATS of a kitchen sink team is favored in the previous game, which the Ravens were. 79% against the spread, if they scored at least 17 both of their games. Ravens are getting on the board. They've just gotten a little unlucky in these games. And then my single best kitchen sink indicator, if the opponent is on a 1-game losing streak, so it's a 1-1 team they just lost, that's the Cowboys, 23-4-1 ATS for the Ravens in the spot, 85%. So these are all ATS trends. Ravens are -1. Why am I going to take the -1 if I can just play the money line at -108, effectively almost the same price? So I don't mind the ATS, but I will play the money line. Ravens to get the win. That's my top kitchen sink play of the week.
That's fascinating. I would think if Dallas had won against New Orleans, you're probably getting a better number with Baltimore as an 0-2 team. But then again, if we start playing that game, Baltimore should have beat the Raiders last week. Lamar Jackson, 20-1 in his career against the NFC, too. I mean, remember the game last year against the Lions? That was in Baltimore, but this is a road spot. The NFC, their eyes widen when they have to face Lamar Jackson historically. Your second pick, it's kind of smelly.
It's very smelly.
The New York Giants.
Yes.
So what now? Look, I get the kitchen sink theme, but what do they even have in their kitchen? The Giants, like, do they have anything available? A dish soap, any of it?
Yeah, honestly, this is as much about the opponent as it is about the Giants. So give me the Giants +6.5 at the Browns. And look, we played this game already on the hot read. We took the under. I got the under 40. So that's the first start. We're catching a touchdown with the total we're expecting under 40. That's already a good spot for us. And really, this is less about the Giants. It's more about the Browns, and it's really entirely a systems play. The Browns just, I don't think, have played it well enough to merit being a touchdown favorite here. The defense we like, that's part of why I like the under. Only 12th in DVOA so far, so not much after 2 weeks, but that includes bottom quarter of the league against the run. I think the Giants can find a little bit of footing, enough to move the ball some. The one thing that the Giants are pretty good at is their defensive front. The Browns' O-line has not played that well so far. The tackles have been banged up and not doing well. Deshaun Watson outdoors, looks like a windy game. That's usually a spot we like to play against. So back to the trends here. This is really just a trends play more than anything. Kitchen sink. Giants are another public side. We like that. 71% ATS. Kitchen sink teams with a total 42 or below. This is one about the Browns here. If the opponent in a kitchen sink game was the underdog the last game, 72% ATS here. If the opponent is averaging 18 points or less, like the Browns, 79% ATS. And then the thing is, too, the Giants are not just 0-2 straight up, they're 0-2 ATS. I got a whole bunch of trends for that, too. So I'm not going to list them all off. I just have like a slew of trends outside of the week 3 stuff. Brian Dable and Danny Dimes, we like them as underdogs. We like them after they lose. We like Danny Dimes as a road underdog, 68% ATS. It just all lines up here. And then last week, we talked about the 6 and 6.5 point underdogs for the road teams. This is that one again, too. We actually saw these big underdogs keep on winning these games. So you thought it was ugly before, Brandon. I'm going to one-up you here. The bet is Giants +6.5, but those teams, the 6.5 point road dogs, moneyline ROI when the total is 42 or below is 35% on the ROI. 8 of the 9 wins since 2010 have actually been by 6 or more points. So you think you're going to eke out this ugly low-scoring win because the total's low. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's not true. Normally, these ugly games have a somewhat comfortable winner. So it's gross. It's disgusting, but we are sprinkling, Brendan, out the money line. No. We're going to make it worth our time. Giants -5.5. Giants to win by 6 or better, +630. And a little bonus sprinkle for you. Same pick on the Broncos. Kitchen sink, Broncos -5.5 +600. Just a little sprinkle on an ugly, nasty win against 2 teams, the Bucs in the Denver's case and the Browns here, that I think are just a little bit overrated by the books.
Wow, I was wrong on guessing your sprinkle. All right, very good. So Giants +6.5, sprinkle on the -5.5, in the same case for Denver this week against Tampa Bay in Tampa. Last one, going back to the well, despite injuries to Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey, who was placed on IR. Technically, Deebo is listed as doubtful, but the 49ers can bounce back and send the Rams to 0-3. There's history here, of course, between Shanahan and McVay.
Yeah, I'm going to play the Niners team total again. We played this exact bet last week. It did not hit for us, but I'm going to tell you why we like it again. It's over 26.5 at the Rams. Now, look, the Rams are a bullseye on the kitchen sink trends. They were the first team I said when I listed off in order. It's a division game. They love that one. The Niners lost last week, so that's the L1 streak. The Rams got blown out. That's 87% ATS for those kitchen sink teams. If you just want to stop and say, okay, I got it, I'm in on the Rams, forget the rest of this, I don't blame you. I can't do it because the Rams are in the hospital right now. Like, both receivers are out, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. The offensive line is in shambles. The defense we know is not great. Like, that's been the cap on the Rams all before the season started even. And like you said, Kyle Shanahan has dominated Sean McVay. This has been a matchup that you keep playing the Niners. We've done this for years on this podcast. So I can't play the Niners either. That's a great kitchen sink spot for the Rams. And the Niners are missing CMC and Debo. So I'm back to the spot where we were last week. If I think the Niners are going to win the game, I think that they have to score also. Like, that's how this team goes. So the Rams defense is the weak link here. When the Niners win last season, they scored 24 or more every single win. Now, it didn't work for us last week. Why not? They didn't win. So that already shot how it's going to go for us anyway. And if you look at it, the Niners scored 17 against the Vikings. They turned the ball over 4 times, 3 times in Minnesota territory. One of those was a turnover on downs on a 15-play, 88-yard drive. They got nothing out of it. In fact, they gave up a 97-yard score to Justin Jefferson right after that. Cost them the game, basically. So maybe this team is just not hitting. Normally, if you do that sort of mistakes, it probably is just kind of a fluke week. And that's the Brian Flores Vikings defense. These are the Rams. A lot less talent to deal with here. The Niners, when they won last year, 14 wins, 27 or more points, all but one of those wins, almost 33 points a game when they win. So, no escalator this time. We're just trying to get some wins this week, Brendan. Unless you think the Niners lose like they did last week, they're going to win. The way to play the proxy win is skip the -7, just take the team total over the 26.5.
Okay, very good. Kyle Shanahan, 10-5 in his career against Sean McVay. So he tends to have success head-to-head in division play. You mentioned Denver as a spot that you want to come back in on. Denver not taking the Denver plus 6.5, but actually going to Denver -5.5 against Tampa in a kitchen sink spot for Sean Payton and Bo Nix. Any other quick thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, just the kitchen sink spots I'm looking at. If the Broncos get to 7.5, if the Jaguars Monday night get to 6, those would be bets for now. They're leans for me. Colts money line, another lean. Again, these are kitchen sink spots, so you want to just kind of play the trend if it's there. Panthers and Titans are teams I mentioned. I've already invested futures in those teams. I need to win anyway, so I don't need to play those extra. I cannot beg you to invest in the Panthers one more time. We already done it, so let's see if we can just get a win on the table. That's it for kitchen sink this year.
Okay, next round of bets here from Brandon. Rapid fire, not necessarily a lightning round, but best bets, Brandon, outside of the kitchen sink, the pantry, dishwasher, whatever. Keep the household theme going here, but explain to the audience why these particular picks kind of segue off of the kitchen sink theme. There's a reason why that these fit under another umbrella, but they transition nicely here.
Yeah, so the first one is we're going to go to Sunday night. We'll take the Chiefs -3 at the Falcons. And look, the Chiefs actually avoided a kitchen sink game from the Falcons here thanks to that late Monday night comeback against the Eagles. And I think interestingly, so this was our look ahead a week ago. We got the Chiefs -3.5. That's the prevailing line available everywhere. So you might think, oh, that went bad. We didn't do well on the look ahead. Well, I beg to differ. The Chiefs almost lost, probably should have. The Falcons won and looked much better, and it's still at the same line. That tells me that we were already on the right side. This was moving that way, and I think it's buying us value that the Falcons got that late comeback, even though they probably should have lost the game. So Kirk Cousins obviously looks a lot better Monday night, much, much better than week 1. Did that against an underperforming Eagles defensive front, not much pass rush, a pretty vanilla Vic Fangio scheme. How about against Steve Spagnuolo and all that pressure? How about against Chris Jones up front? This is a very different sort of test for the Falcons. And I think Kansas City is going to make sure that Kirk shows he's ready more than Philadelphia did. Falcons defense really hasn't stopped Pittsburgh or Philadelphia's offenses that much. They've gotten some stops in the red zone, but both of those teams have moved the ball. And if Pittsburgh is moving the ball on you, like they scored 6 times against the Falcons, all field goals. You don't want Justin Fields and the Steelers moving the ball on you. That's not great. Up next, Patrick Mahomes. Now, look, Isaiah Pacheco is out. I don't mind. You can't run the football. All right, how about we give it to the God-playing quarterback and let him beat us instead against a weak pass defense? I actually feel like that could fit the game script a little bit better. Come on, we're really going to get 2 Kirk Cousins primetime wins in a row in 6 days within each other against Patrick Mahomes? I don't see it. So I mentioned the prevailing line is -3.5. You can play that at like a -105, but you can play Chiefs -3 at -115. That's 10 cents to get down to the key number. There's a couple of those out there, so it doesn't make sense. Mahomes in his career has 12 wins by exactly a field goal. I am happy to sacrifice 10 cents on the dollar to get that one and give us a push if we need to. It is a road game. It's tough. The Chiefs aren't playing that great, but I think that they're the better team here. I think they should win comfortably. We need to get some wins. Let's be honest. It's been a rough couple of weeks. Let's get on the board. So I'll sacrifice a little bit here and lock in that Chiefs -3, -115. But I don't mind the 3.5 if you need it.
Again, these are not kitchen sink games, but man, it feels like the Lions had a missed opportunity with the amount of scoring opportunities in that game against Tampa Bay, and they're now laying a short number against a Cardinals team. Look, I mean, they're 1-1, but I was impressed with how they played against Buffalo, and then they steamroll the Rams, who were banged up. We just talked about the Rams earlier. You like Detroit?
I do, and I'm realizing this second section here is really like a buy low, sell high section. So I like Detroit -2.5 at the Cardinals. This was almost a hot read pick for me, but the market is so high on the Cardinals that it's kept the line here. It actually is still teetering on the edge of just getting the 2.5 after that Rams win. But look, the Rams aren't very good. The defense is not very good. I'm not all that excited about the Cardinals beating them. I expected the Cardinals to beat them. That is what I figured would come. Cardinals' best thing they do offensively has been the running game. They were #1 DVOA back half of last season once they got healthy. Lions are the #1 run defense last year. They're top 5 still this year. That has held up well for them. So I think that offsets pretty well. Meanwhile, the Lions offense is a little bit stuck, let's be honest. 1 of 7 in the red zone. It'd be nice to get some points on the board. But I'm going to be a little less afraid of the 1 and a little more encouraged by the 7. They made the red zone against a quality Bucs defense 7 times. They're running the ball super well. And I still think the Cardinals are among the worst defenses in the league, maybe the worst defense in the league. So I like the Lions offense better. I like the Lions defense better. Dan Campbell, 8-3 against the spread, first 3 weeks of the season. 63% ATS as a favorite, 65% ATS after a loss with the Lions. And look, the total's 52. So there's a lot of points out there. We're probably just going to win by a field goal. Detroit has won 4 of their last 19 Lions wins, though, are by field goal and overtime. So again, the line out there, most books, is -3, but there's a -3 at a -102. I'm going to play Lions -2.5. Let's get a win if we win by a field goal. That's at -112. 10 cents to get off a key number or get to a key number. That is worth it every single time. We need some wins. It's Lions -2.5 at the Cardinals.
Okay, now there's a opposite of the kitchen sink. There's a 2-0 team that I think, hey, congrats, off to a good start. Alvin Kamara is back, it seems. One of the good stories, I think, really in the league. But the Saints, like, what do we make of the Saints? And they host the Eagles, Brandon, who are underdogs in this game. And I'm sorry, like, I know it's a week-to-week league, but can't get that Monday night finish out of my head. Never mind the play call, whatever. Barkley catches it. No one says anything. But then the soft defense coming back the other way. I don't know if the Eagles are fully listening to Nick Sirianni these days, but you like Philadelphia.
Yeah, Brendan, you know what I like about a great feel-good story? I like betting against it because we get to bet the narrative on the other side. The line move on this game is wild. I'm on Eagles +3 here. The look ahead at some books was Eagles -3.5 on the road. So the Saints obviously looked really good. The Eagles choke at the end, but probably should have won the game. We're moving this 6 points across 2 key numbers. That's crazy. Like, I don't remember very many lines like this. That's like, oh, Jalen Hurts is out for the game sort of line movement. No, that's just, we kind of don't think the Eagles are very good anymore, and the Saints look really great. Saints stock is at an all-time high. They're scoring every Derek Carr possession. They're top 5 passing, top 5 running. The Eagles' defense has stunk. That's the case for the Saints. Duh. That's what everybody thinks is going to happen. Buy low, sell high, trust our priors here. Eagles are moving the ball pretty well, and I think this is a pretty the first real big test for the Saints defense. The Cowboys didn't give them much of a test last week, and we only have one main weapon. This is different. Even with A.J. Brown out, I think this is a different test for the Saints. Saints offensive line getting a lot of love this week. Saints coaches getting a lot of love this week.
Kubiak, yep.
Yeah, you know who I like? Philadelphia coaches and offensive line. That's who I like. Dennis Allen, 36% against the spread as a favorite. Derek Carr, 37% against the spread as a favorite. Dennis Allen, after a win, 27% against the spread as a favorite. Come on, you know I'm always betting against Dennis Allen and Derek Carr as a favorite. I love that the Saints are winning these games. They just gave us more chances to bet against the Saints as favorites now. Couple trends for you here. Week 3, teams that are 2-0, favored by 4 or less. This is the spot where you're like, you're good, but we're not totally sure you're that good. 37% against the spread. And here's another one, not just week 3, since 2010. Teams that won by 17 or more as underdogs, underdogs of 7 or less. So they were shortish underdogs. They won huge. Those teams are only 35% against the spread the following week. That's the Saints this week, including, if you fade those teams the first 5 weeks of the season, 40, 12, and 1 against the spread, 77% ATS. So I like the Eagles here. I'm insulted by this line move. Be sure to get the +3 while it is there. Eagles +3 at the Saints.
All right. By the way, I was just looking up quickly as you were finishing up there where Dennis Allen is on the next coach or first coach fired, and he's dropped down the list. He's not the favorite. It's Brian Daboll in New York. So Dennis Allen has saved face for now.
Well, Daboll won't be the favorite anymore either after they win by 6 or more this week in an ugly kitchen sink game.
This last one, real quick before we get to the look ahead. It's actually a player prop look.
It is, yeah. Jamar Chase, I like him to get a touchdown Monday night against the Commanders. It's +120. We'll talk about this game, Brendan, on Sunday night, so I'm just going to keep that real brief here, but I think the number drops a little bit. Washington's defense has been terrible, especially against receivers. Get the best line you can. We'll talk more about that one on Sunday.
Excellent. Look ahead from last week. You hit on the Chiefs. You mentioned the Chiefs. Hit on, meaning spoke about the Chiefs. -3.5 in Atlanta. You're playing it again at -3. Look ahead to week 4. What jumps out to you?
Yeah, this one will sound familiar. I'm going to take a Steelers road under. It's Steelers at Colts, under 41. Despite my terrible start to the season, undefeated on total so far. So let's do a total. Let's go under. Steelers are 2-0 to the under. That's been our easiest money wins of the year. Tomlin road unders continue to be an absolute wagon, especially early in the season. September, October, 56 and 27 to the under, 67%, including twice already this year, games that had a total of 19 and 28 points with 2 touchdowns between the 2 games. The Steelers are 2-0 with 1 touchdown right now. That's all. This is not Justin Fields. This is not the offense. This is the defense, obviously. Colts offense really all not so bad by yards per play. They're just the home run or bust offense right now. They've only had about 20 minutes of possession each game. That is going to be a way to beat a bad defense. I don't think that's going to go well against a disciplined defense like Pittsburgh. This kind of looks like another game where the Colts have a couple good drives where they get a long strike. Otherwise, the Steelers are sitting on the ball for 40 minutes, just running the ball like Arthur Smith loves, chewing up the clock. The look ahead here was 44.5. We're already down to 41 here, 40.5 at some books. 40 and 41 are keys. So this is the one you want to grab now. I think this keeps dropping. You know we like this. It gets below 40. We've got all those trends. Steelers, road unders. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Under 41 for week 4.
This freaking team. 2-0, 1 touchdown through 2 games. They got the 2-0 Chargers, 2-0 Harbaugh, I could see, with Vegas and Carolina on the schedule. But Pittsburgh, get out of my face. Man, I wonder, would you have rather that game be in Pittsburgh? Because then you'd have to get... It's not weather time yet, but it's an indoor spot. I know it's Justin Fields. It might not matter. Just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good sense of Anthony Richardson on the road yet, but Tomlin rode unders. The trend hasn't been as strong at home, so we'll stick with the road under trend and we'll take what we got.
Okay, excellent. All right, Brandon, and you gave out a couple of total looks, which the numbers have moved back on the recap pod on Sunday night. So, all right, here we go. Back in the saddle and getting on the high horse this week. So, good stuff as always from Brandon Anderson. Again, don't forget to find him in the free award-winning Action Network app. You can find our other contributors as well, so you can find their picks and track your own. Check out our Action Network Discord server to chop it up with our experts and fellow gamblers during these games. There's a link to the Discord in the description of this podcast. If you missed the Sunday six-pack with Raybon and Stuckey, that episode is out now. Also, our new NFL Roundtable episode. Stuckey stopped by this week, as well as Evan Abrams. Some really good stuff. It was really funny to watch Stuckey just decompress and figure out what's not just his life, but his football betting life. We'll be back next week, week 4 best bets. Myself, Brandon Anderson. Oh, actually, no, I'm out next week. So someone else is joining Brandon. I'll be back with Roundtable next week with whoever's joining. So for Brandon Anderson, Brendan Glasheen, thanks for tuning in. NFL Week 3 Best Bets here on the Action Network podcast. Best of luck.